Press hockey coverage with Jim Biringer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Full Press NHL Podcast. Voice of Full Press Hockey, Jim Biringer, back alongside Ryan Paton. Get him, Sirius XM, NHL Network Radio. Pucks in 7. Free agency frenzy is here, or maybe it isn't. Ryan, what's going on, man?
No, it's gone. It happened on Monday. It's all over. There's nothing going to go happen today. It's we can all sleep. We don't have to be in our computers. It's all done. I mean, who's left? Who's going to, right? I'm kidding.
There's some people left, but like all the big fish are gone. Like if you look at it, and we'll start with Marner, Mitch Marner. You and I have been talking about him a lot on here when you come on.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to stay. Obviously, he wasn't after the playoffs. We knew he was gone. Goes to Vegas. I got a question for you because I've been throwing this out there in the world on different podcasts I've been on in different spots. If reports are true that you wanted to go to Vegas from the start, especially dating back to last year and the quote-unquote tampering, why did you play hardball and just exercise your no-movement clause? Why didn't you just go then?
Great question. I'm going to answer it by doing in two ways. First is when Kyle Dubas was still in Toronto and he ended up being let go, there was that trade deadline where they knew that Marner's no move was going to kick in. And I remember the discussion even after that. This wasn't a few months ago. This was back when Dubas was still, not that he was there 15, 20 years ago, but this was back a little bit of time. The discussion was this may come back to bite Toronto because I think at that time they didn't think Marner would re-sign with the team. I think this has been in the works in Marner's mind since the end of last year. I think he had no intention whatsoever of re-signing with Toronto. There's also the discussion of Mitch Marner and what comes with Mitch Marner. What I mean by that is what comes with him off the ice. What we see on the ice, JB, as you know, he's a great talent, great passer, great finisher. He's a great skater. There's not many guys that can put up over the course of every season 80, 90, even 100 points. That just doesn't happen. So he is one of the more elite players in the game. But I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with Mitch, and it happens off the ice. It may happen inside the room. It may happen outside the dressing room. Whatever it is, I think there's things that we don't know, but that potentially could be a reason why he decided to play hardball, as you said. Like they went to him at the deadline, as you know, and they said, hey, can you waive it because we want to get Mikko Rantanen. And don't forget, a couple days ago, even yesterday, there was that report came out that the Leafs were pretty much engaged in talks with Vegas and Carolina in a 3-way deal to try to get Rantanen some way to Toronto, and Vegas would get Mitch Marner, and then Carolina, the whole hiccup was, well, what are we going to get in all this? And that just didn't materialize. So I think, to be honest, that at the end of last season, what if something happened? Maybe. But they just did not see eye to eye, and I do think. I don't want to think that people purposely stick it to people, but I think Mitch was playing hardball because that's what he does, and the relationship went south a little while ago in Toronto.
No, that's a fair answer, and it's a fair point by you. I mean, look, that's all we've heard about was Marner. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He goes to Vegas. Vegas tried to get him, tampering, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, all right. Maybe the league still investigates it. I doubt it now. And
I doubt it too. Yeah, I doubt it.
All the best to Alex Pietrangelo too, because it looks like his career is going to be over. And anybody who wants to say, "Oh, here we go again with Vegas," maybe you need to go back to Four Nations before Four Nations when Petro bowed out because of injuries. This has been going on for a while with Petro. All the best to him because to me, he was such a steady rock on that D and a big reason why Vegas won the cup.
Yeah, great points. And he's 35, and you don't want to see anybody. And I talked about this earlier on today, that it's not like the injury here and the ailment that he's dealing with is a knee ligament and he needs surgery. I mean, these are both of his hips, and they need to be completely reconstructed. And there's no possibility of 100% success with this surgery. You don't know. So, yeah, I think it's going to be the last time that we see him. McCrimmon even said, too, he said, we gave him the Four Nations break, of course, because he didn't go. We tried to help him. He tried to have some treatment. Nothing helped. So but he's JB, if he is done, which I think he is going to be done. I mean, he's got a front office spot at some point in Vegas, or he's got something in Vegas that he can fall back on. He's just such a good dude and such a good human that he can carry on outside the ice in some way in Vegas, I think.
One more point on Marner before we have to move on, because I know your time is limited. I had your co-host on, Victoria Matiash, the other day on a podcast.
I have no idea who you're talking about. Who? Yeah, I'm kidding.
Who? Yeah. But real quick, I've brought up the subject on other spots as well. Look, pettiness, you want to call it pettiness. I don't want to try to read into people's minds. But the fact that he goes to Vegas, he's going to be under the microscope because he's making a lot of dollars and for what he has to do for that team. But he goes to a place where it's not Toronto, and he can just lay in the weeds in the public and nobody knows who he is, and he can be a guy on the team. He doesn't have to be, his every move isn't under a microscope.
And this could be a season wherein he will probably put up 100 points again. He'll be with Eichel or whoever you want to put on his line. He'll put up the points. And then if Vegas gets to the postseason, which I think a lot of people do expect that they will, even though the West is very tough, then it may be different. Like, we may see Mitch Marner look more relaxed on the ice. Because, look, Toronto is a pressure cooker. It is. Everyone says, oh, we love to play in Toronto. Canadian boys love to come home to play. That's fine, but you are under the microscope every single time you're on the ice, every word you say in the media, post-game, pre-game, practice, whatever it is. And that weighs on you. Like, it's not like he was in Toronto for 3 years. He was there for a long time. And that's going to weigh on you. And how many times, JB, have we seen? I can't count the actual list, but the amount of players that have played in Toronto, I don't know, say 2, 3, 5, 6 years, and then they go somewhere else and they have success individually. It's one thing to have success with a team, but it just seems this weight is off of their shoulder because playing in Toronto sucks. It does. It's good, but it sucks for them, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely it does. And speaking of Toronto, how about winning negotiations, right? Finally, they win a negotiation. John Tavares takes the Matt Duchene deal. You have Matthew Knies basically getting what J.J. Peterka got by Utah. Good work by Brad Treliving. You win a negotiation. Finally, you put the hammer down, because I said this on a show that I did. It's the take it or leave it deal with Duchene. You either take it or you leave it. And if you want to be here, you take it.
Right. No, and this is something that, again, Toronto has not really been able to do, especially with the core four when they signed them to all those massive contracts. You can't really negotiate. Now, I know the Knights probably wanted less term. The Leafs wanted more term, and I think they met in the middle. But for you to give somebody like that a 7.75 AAV, I'll argue this with anybody. Matthew Knies is just as important to that team as a healthy Austin Matthews. I will argue that with anybody, anytime, because he is a five-tool hockey player. And so when you can get him signed like that, plus he wanted to stay, and when you can get John Tavares signed, who, again, he doesn't need the money. He's fine. But it's about winning. So Brad Treliving, give him credit. He is creating space in the cap for Toronto. You know, like just before they signed Tavares and Matthew Knies, if you looked at the roster at the end of the season, pending UFAs and RFAs aside, you know what the gap was between the second highest paid player, which was William Nylander, down to the third highest paid player, which was at the time Max Domi? It was almost $8 million. You're not winning in the NHL when you have the gap this big. Got Matthews, Nylander, and then you go all the way down. All the successful teams, say from 3 up to 10 or 11 or 12, you've got a guy slotted in at 6 or 7 or 5.5 or 8 or 9. But now it's decreased a bit. But yeah, to his credit, I think Treliving did a great job with those two.
Yeah, I agree too. Like, here's another thing real quick. Toronto does great work there. And then how about Bill Zito? Again, like this guy, I mean, just give him the General Manager of the Year award. Like,
ridiculous.
I mean, Russ Cohen, you've met him. We've all talked to him. He said it. He's like, guy's the best GM. I don't care that Jim Nill won Jim Gregory the award. He's the best GM to get Aaron Ekblad, Sam Bennett, and Brad Marchand all signed on deals. Great stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And even go further than that, through at least 2030. So we're in 2025. So 5 years. These are the Panthers that are signed through 2030. Barkov, Kachuk, Reinhart, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Lundell, Marchand, Jones, Ekblad, and Forsling. So the next 5 seasons, JB, the Panthers have those players on their team. It is a travesty. It is. And this is with all due respect to Jim Nill. It's a travesty that Bill Zito has not won at least one General Manager of the Year award in the last 3 years. Because look, yeah, Jim Nill of Dallas, sure, you made some good moves and the team went to the Western Conference Final, but they didn't make it to the Cup Final. Bill Zito, you made some great moves. Oh, by the way, you lost to Vegas, but then you beat Edmonton, and then you beat Edmonton again in the Stanley Cup Final. You've won 2 cups in 3 seasons, and you're not a General Manager of the Year? I just give it to him now. I don't care, Jim, if they don't win the Cup this year. The fact that this guy got those 3 guys signed under the cap, I know they don't have a ton of wiggle room right now, so they'll have to make some more moves, etc. But it's brilliant. The whole staff with him is brilliant what they've been able to do.
100% brilliant. Take all the other nonsense and the narrative about everything. You heard what Ron Hainsey had to say. When you heard former Panther Dale Talon say what he had to say about it, Marty Walsh, a guy who ran a city, by the way, he ran a city in Boston and negotiated a lot of labor deals.
Yeah,
I think he knows. I think these guys know what they're talking about when it comes to the tax code. So I'm gonna believe those guys and use my brain and use my education and not follow false narratives. And these guys want to win. These guys want to go to places where they want to win. That's how winning is done in the National Hockey League. And you mentioned it, the cap space that they get, that's the advantage they're getting over every other team, because the cap's going to go up and they get to keep their team together to have a chance to actually run a dynasty in the salary cap era.
The other day when Bill Zito was asked, because I think that they already signed Bennett, so then the question still to him was, hey, do you think you can get Ekblad? Do you think you can get Brad Marchand? And I'm paraphrasing, but he said essentially that, and this is him speaking, I'm hoping that players will look at the Panthers and look at our team as a culture, as an organization, as a place to play, as a place that wins. And if it has to do with money, that's too bad. We're going to do what we can. But Bill Zito, to me, is just basically telling these players, I'm going to give you what I can. It's up to you if you want to come back. And if you do want to come back, you know what a hell of a great situation that you're going to be coming back into for the next number of seasons. So that's up to you. I thought that was one of the really neat things that he said when it had to do with the money. But again, more specifically, it has to do with the culture and the identity. Jim, they're the favorites to me again to repeat again as Stanley Cup champs.
There's no other way. I know, like I said, time is limited with you, but I want to get a couple thoughts on this. Vancouver Canucks, what are we doing? Like, Thatcher Demko, 3 years, $8.5 million. Connor Garland's a great signing, but to me, Vancouver brings on their own drama and their own mess. I'll go back to it. If there was really issues between JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, why did both guys get 8-year contract extensions to stay? I don't understand what's going on out in Vancouver.
It was, and I don't either. To short answer, I have no clue. It was a disaster last year. You mentioned Demko. My concern with him is, I know that he's dealt with the same injury. Last year was not very good, but he did look okay when he came back and he said he was healthy. Jim, he's one tweak away from getting knocked out for another extended amount of time, and that would be awful for Vancouver. Brock Besser too. That they tried to trade him as well. So he needs a change. He needs a change of scenery. Evander Kane. What the heck are you doing signing Evander Kane? I know Trevor Linden, who one of the best Canucks of all time, he was on, I think he was doing the radio hit or TV hit or something, and the Evander Kane trade came down, and the question from the host was, hey, what do you think of this Evander Kane for basically a bag of pucks? And his response was, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. You know what you're getting with Evander Kane. If his mind's in the game, he's great, but there's so much going on in that mind, you have no clue which direction he's going to go in. So I don't know what they're doing in Vancouver. And this is the thing as well. Edmonton's not going away. Vegas is not going away. All these other teams are not going away.
LA's not going away. Calgary's better. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
And then you could say the same thing. I mentioned it to you. Anaheim, Detroit, Nashville, Seattle. What are we doing? Like Detroit, okay, Gibson finally goes, right? Okay, who's the number one trade guy for like 3 years?
The only thing with that, I'm so mad because now I have no clue what big names are going to be traded at the deadline. I've had him on my list for like 100 years.
So did I. But Zegras goes to Philly. Anaheim's bringing in Kreider. They're bringing in Pat Verbeek type guys.
Yeah.
But then we have 3 goalies in Anaheim.
Yeah.
What are we doing there? Detroit's trying to get third time's a charm, I hope, for Steve Yzerman, because the pressure is rising in Motown, and Nashville, Seattle. I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, and you mentioned Detroit. I'm glad you mentioned Detroit too. And go back to the decentralization of the draft and how terrible that was, right?
Awful,
yeah, I know it was a disaster. And the one GM, at least the one that I did read about who liked it, was Steve Yzerman. Well, of course you did. How about you focus in on what to do in Detroit? Anytime you have an original 6 team, and last year, don't forget, the Rangers didn't make it in. Boston didn't make it in. These are original 6 franchises. It's something about being an original 6 that you need to, if you can, be there almost every single year. I don't mind Detroit. I thought they would take a step next season. I like the Patty Kane thing, by the way. I think that's a low risk,
that's a great deal. That's a great deal.
I mean, why not? You get a guy in the mid to late 30s, keep signing him to these 1-year contracts with bonuses, like
everybody else.
Jonathan Toews,
Giroux, all these guys.
Yeah, and that's what you do. Like, when you get to that age, you bet on yourself and you tell the team, look, I'm going to give you what I can. You give me what I can. If I can produce, I'll get more. And if it doesn't work, then I'll go sign somewhere else the following season. But yeah, this is a big one. Because again, we talked about Vancouver, what you're doing in Vancouver, and everyone else is still moving in the right direction in the Western Conference, in that division. Everyone's moving in the direction too with Detroit. You've got Ottawa. They're going to be better next year. All these other teams are going to be better. So if you take a step back, especially in the offseason, that'll mean, I think, 2-3 steps back by the time October hockey hits.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we mentioned off the top, free agency, like everybody's staying home. Fabro, Provorov, we mentioned the dudes in Florida. Everybody's going to stay. We saw Andrei Kuzmenko sign in LA.
Yep.
It's like, all right, Nikolai Ehlers, Mikael Granlund, Brock Besser, you're up, buddy. Supply and demand. The demand's high, supply is low. These guys could get the bag, though I will say this. I've seen a lot of reports about Ehlers maybe taking less money. Again, I will use the CM Punk line. Tell me when I'm telling lies about that owner in Carolina.
How long have we been doing this? I've been waiting for a wrestling reference, man.
That's it. Tell me when I'm telling lies. I should have done it for Bill Zito. Acknowledge me. But tell me when I'm telling lies. If he signs for less than $9 million in Carolina, tell me again the owner wants to spend money. I'm just saying.
No, I know. Hey, what do you think Ehlers is going to get? I mean, if he takes less, I mean, he's at least a 9. He's at least 9.
He should be 9. I mean, he could take 8.5 in Carolina if he wanted to.
Yeah. I know that Kevin Cheveldayoff said recently that he was talking to Ehlers' camp, and they're going to talk all the way through till free agency actually begins. And they hope that the last conversation will be with him saying to Nick Ehlers, congratulations, you're back with Winnipeg. I think, and out of all the free agents, certainly the ones that you mentioned, 2 of them specifically, I had no inclination that Brock Besser was not going to test the market, and I didn't have any inclination that Nick Ehlers wasn't going to test the market either. Not saying that he may not sign back in Winnipeg, but out of a lot of because that's what you get to free agency, and a lot of people, fans of the whole process, they're like, well, he's not going to sign because he wants more money and he wants to go somewhere else. That's not always the case. I admire anybody who gets a chance to test the market. Just because you test it, and starting at 12 o'clock today, just because you test it doesn't mean you're not going to re-sign with your team. But you have every right, Jim. You and I probably would do the same thing, unless we were in the Panthers situation. Okay. We would look at look at what we're going to and say, hey, let's entertain some offers. Okay, those 5 are great. These 2 are even better. Let's just decide. You're allowed to do that. That's my point.
Yeah, exactly. You're allowed to do it, and I think Besser was gone anyway out of Vancouver because everything that happened with him. And okay, you're still evaluating a guy that had a 40-goal season. Like, I mean,
no, I know.
I feel like there's a little bit of undervalue and underappreciation in Brock Besser out there.
Yep.
But it would be a typical Canucks thing to do if he actually extended and stayed in Vancouver.
Yeah, for sure.
It would be. I mean,
but I'm telling you, if he goes somewhere else, you watch what he does next season. Just
100%, like Boston or Minnesota or Columbus, even Carolina, some place like that. I mean, I just saw as we were recording, Victor Arvidsson got traded to Boston, so he waived to go to Boston. So I mean, Boston's doing something. They want to get back to the playoffs, like you said. Original 6 teams matter, and when they make the playoffs, it helps the league.
Oh, it helps the league a ton. And you knew Boston was going to be, no one's ever going to forget that video when Brad Marchand was traded to Florida and Don Sweeney coming down the hallway and saying, hey, Panthers just traded for Marsh. And you could hear a pin drop in that room. And then you knew at that time, okay, man, that's one thing for you, Sweeney and Cam Neely. The next thing is you need to do something in the offseason because that was a huge loss. And I thought, too, I know that recently they were coming out with that maybe Boston was trying to go after Marchand and give him some sort of offer. I don't know, man. I mean, if you can't come to terms with him before he leaves and he has that discussion with you saying, here's my latest, I'll take it a little bit less, whatever, and they're like, no, sorry, we don't think you're worth that, then you're potentially going out after him again. There's no way that Brad Marchand was going to sign with Boston. He'll sign a one-day contract, I'm sure, with him to retire at some point.
Yeah, he will, and that's what I thought. I don't think once he was traded, I never saw him coming back to Boston.
Hey, can I ask you, the 6 years that Marchand got, he's not playing at 43. There's no chance he's playing at 43.
No, that's why I said I think Bill Zito is great, because if you look at the way the no trade clauses kick in and everything, by 2030, 2031, they're buyout proof and they're tradable. Like every one of those contracts. That's why I say when you have a general manager that knows what he's doing and being aggressive, you set yourself up so where you're not in a pickle like the Vancouver Canucks are. God forbid Demko doesn't play. You can't move that contract.
No.
Full no move for 3 years. The guy hasn't played one full season in like 2 years.
I'm telling you, that is a massive gamble. And I don't wish, like you do, we don't wish ill will on anybody to get hurt. But I'm telling you, that injury that he's dealing with, that he had last year, when you're a goalie, anything lower body, it's not good. So if you think you're fine, great. But it takes that one hit, the one tweak, the one thing in warm-up when he moves a certain way, and the guy could be gone. And then what do? It's even more of a mess in Vancouver.
And starting next year, after his extension kicks in, $13 million in goaltending. I mean,
no.
I don't know what we're doing out in Vancouver. Again, there's a lot of moving parts. Everybody stayed home.
They don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what they're doing out in Vancouver. Forget us.
No, they have no idea. They have no idea. And like I said, everybody stayed home outside of a handful of guys. But it's just like, all right, I guess everybody can relax on Canada today, right, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. I hope Vancouver figures it out. I do. I really do.
Me too, because there's a lot of good things happening out there. But I appreciate the time here on Full Press NHL Podcast.
This was always fun. You know what? I love it, man.
Always fun, guys. It's up on YouTube. Please subscribe. Again, the great Ryan Paton on here, Sirius XM, NHL Network Radio, Pucks and 7 with Victoria Maddie Ash. Guys, again, Full Press Hockey up on YouTube. Follow along, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Take care.
Full Press Hockey coverage with Jim Biringer.